For 50 years, Extension Master Gardeners have helped make healthier, more beautiful communities across North America. Celebrating the program's golden anniversary in 2023, WSU Extension faculty and Master Gardener volunteers built a grassroots movement that is deeply rooted in locally based service. With interest in gardening blooming in the early 1970s, Extension faculty faced an ever-growing demand for gardening ideas in Washington State's urban West.
I was hired as an Extension program assistant in King County with WSU in 1970. And as a horticultural program assistant, I answered home gardening questions. I averaged answering 105 calls per day. You can imagine with 105 calls a day, the diversity of questions that you would get on plant diseases and insect problems. And the more questions we answered, the more questions it seemed to generate.
In 1973, two WSU Extension faculty members, David Gibby and Bill Shear, had the inspiration to enlist volunteers to meet the public's need for knowledge.
When I started with the Western Washington Extension Service, I was given the assignment to answer questions for the homeowners, basically urban horticulture, in both King and Pierce counties. We had horticultural hints that we put on air. We had television programs that we visited, and they always generated increased interest and increased pressure on the office. What was necessary was to somehow get something that could respond to that kind of pressure. Bill Shear was one of my cohorts in the office. I pressed him a little bit and talked to him about the idea of using volunteers and also about the name. He readily agreed. He thought it was a good idea.
My husband, Bill Shear, was a co-founder with Dave Gibby. Dave had been in Germany as a Mormon missionary, and Bill had worked in Germany to perfect his language skills because his plan was to be a nurseryman in Holland. The two of them together were both familiar with the Meistergärtner program in Germany. They wanted to have a name when they came up with working with volunteers. They wanted a name that was meaningful.
Steve Lorton was a regional editor for Sunset Magazine. I said, Steve, I need your help. I'd like an article written about what we're planning. I got 300 volunteers within a few days of the article coming out.
As word spread, the Master Gardener team grew. Starting with a trial run at the Tacoma Mall, founders organized clinics where experts or trained volunteers could answer gardening questions.
The program was initially thought up and started by Dave Gibby and Bill Shear, who were extension agents in King Pierce. They split. I joined sort of in the middle of the very first class, and then I started organizing the clinics. It was a lot of work. So I would be sometimes working at the office until 10 o'clock and getting everything ready and calling volunteers. It was obvious I wouldn't be able to keep that up. So I set it up so each clinic organized themselves. And that's pretty much how it stayed in a lot of the counties.
Soon, volunteers in counties across Washington State were launching their own programs.
Our program here in Spokane started later that year, so we're actually the second or third oldest program in the country. And the history, it's just evolved. I mean, and that's the beauty of having a volunteer corps and dedicated staff who understand that, things change. It went from being mostly looking for flowers and shrubs to working with food gardens, and now we're moving, as I said, into working with climate change and understanding even broader than that.
Through hard work and dedication, Master Gardener volunteers have benefited their neighbors and formed long-lasting friendships.
It was always an inspiration to me to be around the Master Gardeners volunteers. They were always so congenial, so polite, so interested, so willing to help others, so willing to learn. And not everybody has that kind of job experience. So I always pride myself in being one of the most fortunate people in the world.